So thank you for making it to this part of the video. This video is going to be specifically what to do and what to watch out for when you're working with an investor. I say this because when you go into foreclosure, I know for a fact that these are one of the most popular demographic of real estate investors, agents that reach out to you. They're the ones that come knocking at your door, phone calling you, text messaging, sending you mail. They're the ones that want to help you the most. So I want to give you tips on what to do and how to understand when it's the right choice for yourself to work with an investor, but also what to watch out for when working with investors. So let's go ahead and get into it. What I'd like to go over first are who are investors. What an investor is someone that buys a property for the purpose of reselling or making a profit. That could be either a fix and flipper, a person that buys properties for rental purposes or short term or long term. Those are your typical investors. And the reason that this is could be a caveat for you or an option is just because they buy properties fast with cash, some type of financing that's fast cash. They buy as is. They don't really necessarily ask for repairs. The home is typically, for that reason, sold at a discount. But also, investors can be seen as big corporations that buy and sell properties nationwide. Also, you have your smaller corporations statewide. You also have your mom and pop corporations. And finally, the last thing, investors usually have your best interest at mind, but there are occasionally, and there are some that don't have the best interest of you as the person going through this situation. They don't have your best interest at mind. So that's what an investor is. I also wanted to share some of the strategies that some of these investors like to use that I know of. We have the three main popular ones. The first one being wholesaling. That's somebody that gets a property under contract, meaning you, and they sell the rights to that contract to somebody else for a profit. You have your fix and flippers. They like to buy properties, renovate the property, and then sell that property back on the market to an end user. And then you have your investor that buys properties for the sole purpose of rental purposes. So they do short-term rentals that can be seen as Airbnb, or they do long-term rentals where they hold a property and they rent it to a family, or they rent it to somebody for a certain amount of years or months. Now that we know what common strategies investors like to use, I wanted to share some of the things that I'd like you guys to watch out for. I put three things that I'd like you to watch out for if you're going to decide to go this route. The first one being a lowball offer that is way substantially low. Now, there's two ways to look at this. There's one way that you are getting an offer based on the value of the home. Now, if your home needs significant work, I wouldn't look at it as a lowball. It's more like the money that this flipper or home buyer needs to put into the property to get it back to 2020 plus standard. But for this situation, I'm talking about lowball offers where they're giving you 20 to 30 to 40 to 50% of what the actual value is. Now, those are offers you need to be, that's going to bring a red flag and you need to be aware of. The second thing I'd like you guys to be aware of are any non-refundable deposits that you see have weird or red flag wording in it. Those are things to watch out for because those are investors that are just not serious. And then the third thing I would watch out for is an investor that gives you a contract or an offer and you read the contract and it has a long extension to close as far as a timeline. That's another red flag. That's someone with the intent to not actually purchase the home directly from you. If you see something with a 60-day timeline to close, that's someone from the very beginning that was never, their intent was never to buy your home. Likely wholesaling, which wholesaling is good and bad, but in that case, if you don't have the time and the luxury of it, that's something you need to be watching out for. Now, those are just some of the things that I would suggest you watch out for. Now, as we move over on how to protect yourself, I wanted to share a couple of ideas that I have and that I've done with my clients. Now, those three things would be, first of all, get multiple offers for your property. If you are going to work with an investor and do a sale to them, you can reach out to multiple investors and have them offer on your property. I would suggest that. The second thing would be when you do decide to move forward, you make sure you read that contract carefully. Like I mentioned in the slide before, those are some of the red flags you can search out for. Make sure you understand what you're signing. And then the third thing I would say would be if you are going to sell to an investor, work with either an agent, a reputable investor that you've done some research on, you've done some homework, they are legitimate, they do buy in the area. And the third thing would be work with an attorney that can help you, or a lawyer that can help you read over the contract and make sure. Now, as we understand how we protect ourselves, let's understand now when it makes sense for you to think about going with an investor. I would only suggest this makes sense when you are on a time crunch. So if you wait to the very end and your auction date is within the month, I would say maybe that's a time that you should consider using an investor. If your home needs substantial work, that is a clear indicator for a good investor to come in and purchase the home. That situation, just because of the level of renovations, it may not be suited for the market. And again, considering you also don't have a lot of time, an investor knows exactly what they're buying. And then finally, you decided to go this route, but you understand everything in the contract, everything with the terms. You're working with a reputable investor. I would think that those three things are, that's what makes sense. If I'm in your shoes, these three things. I want to show you an example with numbers that would help you understand when that decision for you to decide to work with an investor might make sense. So let's go ahead and look at the whiteboard here.
Wanted to use it. Let's say you have your home, but it needs repairs and you're going through foreclosure. Okay, and the repairs that it needs is roughly about $60,000. An investor goal is to resell this property for a profit. So they know they can sell this for about $300,000 when it's all fixed up. And let's call your mortgage balance, what's still owed, let's call this $180,000. So in order for you to get out of foreclosure, you owe the bank 180. So if you get an offer from an investor, and we'll call the offer here at 200,000, well, this is a fair offer because you have to consider this 200,000, you walk away with about 20. This number the investor's estimating for renovations is 60. Usually it's higher and they can sell it for 300. So they're paying you $200,000. 180 goes to the bank, the other 20 goes to you, and they essentially have to put 60,000 in. So now they're all in 260 plus all the costs that go with selling a home to walk away with about 25 to $30,000, essentially what you walked away with. So this is a fair offer from an investor in this scenario.
And then finally, in conclusion, I would say don't rush yourself when deciding to work with an investor. They need to work with your timeline just as much as vice versa. Also, not all investors are bad. There are good investors out there that can actually help you. Just understand when to see the red flags and understand which ones to work with and which not to. And then just make sure you read the contract. You understand what you're signing and getting yourself involved in. It's still a legal transaction. So, like I said, understand that contract, get a second opinion from an agent, reputable investor, a friend. And then finally, in conclusion, if you need immediate help now and are considering this route or any other routes, feel free to reach out to myself, send me a message, give me a text message, email me, and myself and my team are more than happy to help you.